And wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. How the heck are you? It is the Monty Show. My God.
Finally.
Thank you. Thank you so much for making this a Friday. Because this week has been the longest millennial of my life. I want you to know that. Any big plans this weekend, Jake?
Well, we have more family coming in tonight. We have the girlfriend coming in tomorrow. We're going to choke on some water, and then we're going to go to Lowry's, and it's going to be great.
Lowry's, the prime, Mike Lowry, the prime.
Mike Lowry.
I'm totally choking on core water right now. We're going to Lowry's this weekend. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get up to like House of Hoops or something.
Well, you're going to pick up your girlfriend. See, what this prick over here isn't saying is, it's my birthday. Tomorrow's my birthday. And again, I ain't got no gifts.
Yet.
I ain't seen nothing.
Whoa. I got you one of the nicest details we've ever gotten. That's not a gift?
No. Yeah, it is. That was very nice of you. I agree. That was quite nice of you. I appreciated the effort on your behalf. But yeah, I got the detail, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm going to House of Hoops in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
So
I'm sorry, did you just burp?
I did. I totally did.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, you know.
I'm me. You know, it's my birthday week.
This guy.
Yeah.
It's my birthday year.
Yeah.
Make sure you go ahead and hit like. Give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate everybody who watches the show at themontyshow.com. Appreciate you listening to the show on the audio podcast. We had a monster day on the audio podcast yesterday. Really, really appreciate you guys supporting the show. If you want to win the PS5 that we're giving away, even though it's not here, it's back up in a crib. In Salt Lake City. All you have to do is subscribe to this channel and follow us on TikTok, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show. And if you would so like and you are a casual, go ahead and hit me on the DMs on Instagram or Twitter. You can find Jake, SLC Supercars, and just DM us your size and we'll hook you up with the Venmo. Our T-shirts are $25.
You're a casual.
You are a casual. That's the current shirt, so make sure you hook it up at themontyshow.com is where you can find the show. Without further ado, so we've really been working to find out where the Jazz have been behind the scenes, and we've really been working hard to figure out what the Jazz were attempting to do at the trade deadline. And the fruits of our labor paid off yesterday as we were told that, and again, I will say that our sources have been pretty good on the Jazz. We have had the great luxury of having accurate sourcing to go with our Jazz stories, whether that is the Dennis Lindsay story, whether that is Danny Ainge,
Joe Ingles.
I mean, just a number of stories, right? So we've been working hard on that. And yesterday we were able to confirm what we had said last week at the trade deadline, that everybody was on the table. And we've been telling you that there's been a lot of friction in the Jazz locker room, mainly centered around the divide that exists between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And in an eerily similar verbiage, Donovan Mitchell went on the Chris Haynes podcast this week and confirmed almost word for word what we've been reporting about his relationship with Rudy Gobert. So it came as little surprise that sources in the NBA told us yesterday that the Jazz had conversations about Rudy Gobert. I don't believe, in from what I understand and what I'm told, I don't believe the Jazz were ever close to trading Rudy Gobert. But they absolutely had conversations centered around Rudy Gobert with 3 Eastern Conference teams about making a deal for Rudy. And I don't think that's surprising in the least bit. Now, can you make a gravitational change like that at the trade deadline? Sure you can. It's exceptionally rare. There are very few situations where a deal like that gets done. Obviously, James Harden, Ben Simmons, that deal got done. But to trade a super max contract where Rudy Gobert is making $41 million a year is incredibly, incredibly rare in this league. And what you know now is the foundation's been laid for a deal to get done in the summer. And those are the conversations that I had yesterday with people in the know. And the interesting thing is that the people that we know at the Jazz, as soon as we tweeted that, essentially, they reached out and they were not happy that we were tweeting that. Mm-hmm. And we had conversations about it. My sources at the Jazz that are close to that situation did not deny that in fact did happen. I think that it is a pragmatic, smart move for the Utah Jazz to be exploring every option to get this deal done and to make this team competitive. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that the Jazz were close to trading Rudy Gobert. I am in no way, shape, or form telling you that the Jazz had a deal in place. What I am telling you, and I want to make sure we're perfectly clear on this, what I am telling you is the Jazz had conversations with 3 Eastern Conference teams, and I'm going to do the math on who those teams are here in a minute, but the Jazz had conversations with 3 Eastern Conference teams about Rudy Gobert and their interest in and what it would take to get a deal done. That's what happened at the NBA trade deadline with Rudy Gobert and the Utah Jazz. And Jake, I'm not at all surprised by that.
No, I think it's the type of thing you want to be doing at the trade deadline. You have to understand, you have to understand it's a super max. You have to understand that it's not easy to trade that contract, and it all starts with laying the foundation and having conversations. And that's the thing I think you got to understand if you're a Jazz fan listening to this show right now. The process by which you go about trading a super max isn't pick up the phone, call whatever team, and then you have the deal done tomorrow. I mean, this is a much lengthier process. I mean, this isn't like, hey, we want to trade Elijah Hughes to Portland for this, that, and the other. That's not that simple. And so, I wasn't surprised when we heard this. I think that it also, on some level, sends a pretty clear message that the organization understands, that everyone is available, and I think by extension through what we're hearing, to me anyway, my opinion is that it sends the message that this team is not going to stay the same. This team they are not just going to stand pat. And I know that, through the trade deadline, they didn't really do too much, and a lot of Jazz fans were disappointed. But I think if you're a Jazz fan, you can feel pretty good about, the intent of this front office. And that ultimately is what matters, because you got to have, it takes 2 to dance, right? You gotta have someone on the other side of the phone who's willing to even have the conversation about Rudy. And I think that ultimately is what they were trying to get done at the deadline. First and foremost, we need to move the Joe Ingles expiring deal. We need to make a deal around that and get that off our books. I think that was mission number 1. Mission number 2, I think, was to make calls to the Eastern Conference, because you're not going to trade Rudy in the Western Conference. We're going to make calls to the Eastern Conference, to some of these teams, and we're going to figure out who's willing to have a conversation. That way, when the season ends and we're in the offseason in the summer, we can call these teams back and say, okay, let's sit down at the trade table and let's figure out what we can hammer out. And that's what I feel like took place at the trade deadline for the most part.
And I don't think most people understand that that's generally how major deals get done. I mean, you're not making, what's another major deal? Trading Russell Westbrook, right? Trading Russell Westbrook, and we now know that the Lakers could have made a Russell Westbrook trade to Houston for John Wall and, some incarnation of players, Eric Gordon, Christian Wood, like
a package.
Yeah, a package of Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do that because the Rockets had the leverage and the Rockets were going to make them take on more money. And the Lakers, Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss said, we're not going to take on more salary. There's a real good chance that deal gets done in the summer, right? With a guy like Rudy Gobert, who is important to this club as he is also very limited. And it's going to take a longer time than 3 days leading up to the trade deadline. And by some accounts, it was a week. 3 days seems to be what the consensus was in those conversations. But my feeling is that this will lay the foundation for Rudy Gobert to be traded over the summer. And I think that is highly likely. I think that the Jazz have an appetite. As I've told you, I've been told directly by sources in the know around the NBA that the Jazz, and really my sources at the Jazz confirmed it, that the Jazz have told Donovan Mitchell they're going to build this team around him.
Yeah.
And that they understand right now that the roster is dysfunctional. They understand that the roster is not built around Donovan, that it's built, really the focal point of this Jazz roster is Rudy Gobert. And that they have a pretty good understanding that that's not the way that they're going to win a championship.
Here's the game plan.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you're going to see is that this club is as we've again reported, going to do everything possible to get a championship to Salt Lake City. They're going to do everything possible to make sure that Donovan Mitchell wears a Jazz uniform for as long as possible.
Right.
Donovan Mitchell, according to my sources, has told the Jazz point blank, if we're not winning a championship or competing for a championship, I'm not going to be here. I don't have the desire to sit through rebuild after rebuild and losing season after losing season. But I can also tell you that Don's never said, hey, this market's too small for me. I'm a big star. I need the big city lights.
Which is two totally different things.
Yeah, Donovan's never said that. He has never, from what I've been told, Donovan Mitchell has never demanded a trade. Donovan Mitchell has never said, I don't want to be here anymore. What Donovan Mitchell has said in his meeting with Ryan Smith, he said directly, I want to win. I care about championships. And Ryan Smith said to Donovan Mitchell, we are going to do everything to win a championship. We will spare no expense. We will build this roster around you. And our only goal in every move we make is to win a championship.
You ain't first, you're last.
So trading Rudy Gobert makes perfect sense in that light and in that conversation.
Yeah.
Were they close to trading Rudy Gobert at the deadline? No, they were not. And I think that will happen in the summer. And I know I'm being a little repetitive, but I want to make sure we get this right because I think it is a huge moment in time. I think the Utah Jazz have a chance to trade Rudy Gobert over the summer. I don't want to put a percentage on it, but I feel like that there is a reasonable chance that happens because the three clubs that make the most sense at the deadline in these conversations, and some make sense, some don't. I think the least likely was Boston. I don't believe that Boston has any use for a guy like Rudy Gobert. And I don't know what you give up if you're Boston to get Rudy. But we had heard from sources around the league at the deadline that the Jazz were trying to get involved in a 3-team deal with Washington. And it makes sense to me that if it is Boston, that they were trying to do a 3-team deal with Boston, Washington, and the Jazz. Now, the other name that has consistently been linked to the Jazz that the Jazz supposedly had interest in was Julius Randle of the New York Knicks. That makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. If Rudy Gobert is not here and you plug in Julius Randle and you plug in other bodies around Julius Randle and Donovan Mitchell, that's a very formative duo. Donovan Mitchell and Julius Randle on the same roster makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. Now, having said that, I don't know what the framework of that deal looks like.
Yeah.
Julius Randle, I believe, is about to go into a long extension, but he's not 35% of your salary cap like Rudy Gobert is. Understand that.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. Rudy Gobert is 35% of the Utah Jazz salary cap.
Why does that matter for someone who doesn't get it?
Because he's not a force as far as offense goes. He is very as talented and as impactful as Rudy Gobert is on the defensive end. And he is. He is, in my opinion, a generational defensive performer. There is no doubt about that. He has earned the Defensive Player of the Year multiple times, 3 in fact. I think he may even win 3 more in his career. But as dominant as Rudy Gobert can be defensively, 1, you can scheme him out of that role, and 2, he is very limited offensively. So when you're paying somebody 35% of your salary cap, $41 million a year on average, who cannot consistently contribute offensively, and who in half-court sets can be schemed by the other team out of that defensive leverage that he is just so incredibly gifted with, you begin to understand that that's 35% of your salary cap that cannot help you win a championship.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you do not have other pieces around a guy like Rudy Gobert that are dominant offensively, and really the Jazz have one, and that is Donovan Mitchell.
Well said.
You begin to understand why this build of the Utah Jazz is dysfunctional.
Good, not great. That's what it is. It's good, not great.
There's no other way to really describe it, and I understand why people are upset about that, and I understand why there's frustration in Jazz country.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that ultimately to win a championship, there will be pain. There will be pain. And I think that that's where you're going to go here. So, again, I think the most likely scenario is that Rudy Gobert, I could see him moving to New York. I don't know what the Knicks would have to do on top of that because you don't have the offense there. But as it was described to me, Rudy Gobert would enjoy the opportunity to play with Evan Fournier.
Mm-hmm.
So that also on top of that makes a hell of a lot of sense for the New York Knicks.
Olympic teammates.
They are Olympic teammates and they are very close friends.
Yeah.
And, at one point, I don't know, what was it, several months ago, we were told that people were in Rudy's ear over the summer saying, hey, this is your team. You got to do this. You got to do that. And what happens? He comes back from the Olympic tournament. He's a much more vocal presence. He is calling guys out. There is, the losing is creating friction in the locker room. And frankly, this situation the other night in LA, I think Rudy Gobert got embarrassed. I mean, I think when you look at him, pointing at Royce O'Neal on the floor, like, hey, what are you doing? And then owning none of it in the postgame. Frankly, I think Rudy embarrassed himself.
Yeah, and I just think that as a defensive force, you're not as, you don't have the word I use is clout. That's the best word to describe what we're talking about. You don't have the respect of your teammates the same way that a dominant offensive player, the guy that's basically getting buckets for you, does. Like, think of it this way. One of the best offensive players in the league right now, DeMar DeRozan.
Yes.
He's going to have a ton of respect. That's his team. Like, DeMar is the guy. Donovan is the guy, whereas Rudy or Jared Allen or, whatever defensive big you want to think about, those guys are frankly, and I can't believe I'm saying this about a guy who's getting paid that much, but in essence, they are role players. You are somebody who plays one side of the floor, and then you disappear on the offensive end. So I don't know. It's just this tricky situation, but I think on the path to a championship, if this is the worst pain you have to go through, trading Rudy Gobert and making some changes to the roster, I don't feel like that's a heavy price to pay if it pays off in rings, because other teams have had to pay higher prices, and Danny Ainge knows about that, so I don't know. I just think that the what's played out, and we have been ahead of the curve on it. I will say that we've been saying this for probably a year at this point, but you can just see that when Rudy's in the game, they're a little bit more limited offensively. When they go with a small ball lineup, they have a lot more options offensively. They do some creative things. The ball seems to move more. So, again, it comes off, and I think a lot of people, we saw this, we got tagged in some, Jazz Facebook group about how we hate Rudy and whatever. We don't hate Rudy Gobert, but the problem is we're independent. We don't have an allegiance to the team or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to say, hey, he is a dominant defensive player, but offensively, the limitations are just too much to win a championship.
Yeah, I think the hard part here is that Donovan Mitchell's not a complete product yet. He's not a complete player. And he has to wear a lot of the dysfunction in this situation. I think the selfish, and I always get slapped for saying hero ball. One of the guys I know at the Jazz really, really hates that term. Like, I mean, really hates that term.
Do you know why?
Because he says that's not at all what's going on. and multiple guys I've talked to at the Jazz have said, hey, Donovan, there's not a selfish bone in Donovan's body. Well, his play says otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Let's be honest about it.
Listen, whether you want to call it hero ball or you want to call it Don's just doing what Don's got to do, I mean, whatever, with all due respect, like whatever label you want to put on it, the fact is Donovan takes a lot of ill-advised threes from the hash that he shouldn't take. And again, when we talk about complete basketball players, part of being a complete basketball player is decision making and understanding.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Donovan Mitchell. I understand who I am and how the defense prioritizes stopping me to slow us as a team down. So when you have that power on the floor, you have to make the correct decision 8 or 9 times out of 10 for your team to be successful. So when you're the Utah Jazz and you've got Rudy on the floor and Donovan on the floor and Bogey's standing in the corner, Royce is on the wing and Mike's on the other wing, you got to look at this and you got to say, okay, what should I do here? Well, I know what I'm going to do. Rudy's going to come up and set a pick, and then I'm going to get a matchup that I feel like I like, and then I'm just going to go and play ball. And so those ill-advised, 25, 30 footers or whatever they are, those are just not good shots. Can he make them? Well, yeah, he can make them. Can he get by the guy and get the elbow jumper that's like a 70% look for him? Yeah, he can. And that's why I think when we say, hey, it's hero ball or it's Don and everybody else, we're not really saying, hey, Don just wants to take every shot. What we're saying is this team is not complete enough and doesn't have enough talent, and his play clearly dictates that he doesn't believe in the guys around him, or else he wouldn't be taking those shots.
Well, and what you're seeing now is that he's really made an effort, I think, over the last 3 games specifically. I think he's really made an effort to distribute more and to take advantage of the space that he's creating in the paint to get guys better looks. And that's what's so frustrating about guys like Bojan Bogdanovic. It's what's so frustrating about, Royce O'Neal. I just think
in the corner won't shoot the ball.
But his name is Buckets, and he won't shoot the ball.
And so if you're Don, what choice are you left with? Hey, I'm going to bring the ball up. Because I actually, to be honest with you, and this is something you kind of pointed out, I really like when Don's running the point. I got to be honest with you. I like, with this current setup, I like Don on the ball, bringing the ball up, running the point, and getting them into good offensive situations because it puts the choice into Donovan's hands, right? You want just like in the NFL or any other sport, you want the choice of how you're going to do things to be in your best player's hands.
Correct.
And with this roster, I think that's the best formula. Give the ball to Don, let him bring it up, and let him run offense. Let him use the pick or whatever the set dictates. But again, when we talk about hero ball and the way this team tends to kind of fall apart at the end, that's where I think Don's shortcomings and maturity as a player need to come.
Well, and I think that will happen. I think, I still maintain that while they're not comparable players, the arc that Donovan Mitchell on is very similar to the arc that Michael Jordan went on. You've got now to surround him with talent, and he will become a complete player. I really believe that. I think it is.
What is, with Don being a complete player, what is that? When you say, hey, Don is now a complete player, what do you envision that as? What do you see that as?
Well, I think the biggest hole in his game right now is his defense, and we're starting to see that he's a wanting defender. He had some moments in that Laker game specifically where he played really good defense. I thought his defense on Russ in a couple of one-on-ones was very good. And I think Donovan is showing you that he's working on that. I would expect his defense and his footwork. Don tends to cross himself up sometimes defensively. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something he can grow into. He's got to develop better footwork, right? He will do that. I think defensively is his biggest hole in his game. But I also think, mentally speaking, Donovan Mitchell has to hit a switch. And my guess is, he's that dimmer switch, right? He was never passing. The dimmer switch was all the way down. The room was dark, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now you're starting to see him push that dimmer switch up a little bit. There's a little light in the room. He's starting to kick the ball out, and you're starting to see more productive sets. During that homestand where they won, 6 in a row, Donovan Mitchell was the motor on that homestand, right? And by no coincidence, Rudy Gobert's out, Donovan's in, and it's Donovan's team. It's Donovan's room. I mean, Donovan's the straw stirring that drink, right?
But isn't that the challenge? It's Donovan's room either way. It's just how loud Rudy's going to be. That's what it seems like to me.
And I think, look, if Rudy and Don are here for the next 5 years, they're going to have to figure out how to lead together. Because I think, frankly, I think both of them want to be something that neither of them are, and that's an alpha male. Rudy Gobert, I think for every one of his failings, Rudy Gobert is trying to lead the team. He is trying to be the alpha in the room, and he just doesn't have it. He ain't that dude. And I think that's the biggest issue. I think this team is thirsty for Donovan Mitchell to step up and be a leader. He says the right things. I think that Rudy has blown his leadership feet off by talking about Devin Booker and taking to social media and...
Okay. So that's how it's going to be.
And pointing at Royce O'Neal. Like, you can't lead that way and be successful.
Yeah.
You can't. Great leadership is about building guys up. It's not about, tearing guys down, right? And it's so easy to be a leader when you're winning. It's really difficult, and the test of your leadership mettle comes through losing and adversity. That's when great leaders are defined. Leadership is defined in adversity. In this team, when things go to shit, this team doesn't have a true, strong leader. That's what you need. When you're down 3 with 14 seconds to go, where's the good shot coming from? Because you know what? I watched a Milwaukee team last night not even get close to a good shot to try and win a game. And it's because Giannis Antetokounmpo is a great player who doesn't know how to lead.
Facts.
Right? I look at teams like, if you think about LeBron James, you can say a lot of things about LeBron. You can call him, what do people on this show call him? LeBum or LeBust, or call him whatever you want.
Yeah.
He's got rings, and when the game's on the line, give LeBron the ball.
He's been clutch.
Good things will happen. Ask the Jazz the other night. Ask Rudy Gobert the other night, not stepping out on LeBron defensively. Right? LeBron's going to take advantage of that. That's the attitude, not the talent, mind you. That's the attitude that this team's lacking.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some comments in here. Steve Hambone first in. He says, good morning, guys. What's going on with Gobert? Well, we just told you. Edgar Garcia says, good freaking morning, players. Good freaking Friday morning. Amen to that. Aptus Lopez, nice to meet you, says, what's up from Manila?
What's up, Manila?
Where's the most likely destination for Gobert? My guess, I feel like New York my guess is New York would be a very good destination. I don't believe they trade him in the West. I don't. I think that would just be a really foolish move.
Yeah.
I think that I could absolutely see him being a fit with the Knicks. The Knicks are going to have to remake that roster again. I mean, especially if Fournier's there in the long term, and whatever that is in this league, 2 years. If he's here the next 2 seasons, I could see Rudy being a fit there. I don't see him as a fit in Boston because you're not built for his style. Although they have a plethora of offensive guys, and if you put Rudy Gobert in the middle of that defense, look out. Because they've got 3 guys. Jason Tatum is capable of being an elite defender. Marcus Smart is an elite defender. You put Rudy Gobert into that mix.
Jaylen Brown's a great defender.
Jaylen Brown is a very quick defender. Jaylen Brown is an instinctual defender. They would be elite defensively. I don't know how that impacts their offense, frankly. That I'd be interested to see. But what's it going to take to get him to Boston? They're not giving up. They're not giving up a whole lot to get Rudy Gobert. And how much money are you going to have to send with him? Washington, I don't know what. Are you trading Bradley Beal? That doesn't feel like something you're doing because he's going to free agency.
Yeah.
Right? So is that a sign and trade deal? Is Bradley Beal signing and trading to Utah? That doesn't seem likely. I could see them. I could more see that being a sign and trade with the Lakers or the Knicks or I could see that. I think the most likely destination is the Knicks. I think that's the best fit. Honestly, the team that needs him the most is probably the Chicago Bulls. A team like that really lacks a big. A team like the Atlanta Hawks that's got all kinds of offense that lacks a big, that needs help defensively.
Yeah.
Those are the teams in the East that make the most sense, but how many of those teams even have the goods to get that kind of deal done?
And want it.
I don't know that many want it. I don't know that many have the goods to get it done. I mean, it's strictly a guess, a conjecture, but, my feeling is that there's a deal to be had with the New York Knicks if you want to have it. It's just a matter of what ultimately makes that deal happen over the summer. Because the Jazz don't have a whole hell of a lot of assets to give to get anything. That's the other thing. I mean, one of the other conversations I had the other day was that the Jazz were operating on the phones to the point of desperation. So take that for what it's worth. Tyler Hopkins says, I could see the Jazz trading Rudy during the offseason, but hopefully the team is smart about which team they trade him to. I would agree. Cody says, you guys bash on Rudy so much, yet you said nothing about Mitch when it comes to clutch time and to win the game. You don't rely on him to make it for the win. Name one game you made a clutch shot. Well, I mean, you go back to Denver in the bubble, and you wish that he hadn't had the ball taken from him.
The fact is,
here's
the thing.
I think he was doubled out of that.
The fact is he just hasn't had enough opportunity in the postseason to make huge clutch shots. And frankly, they're not a team that plays tight games for the most part. You're a team that is playing 2-possession games at the end of the game. To have the opportunity to make a clutch shot, you got to be down by 2 or down by 3 with 5 seconds left and the ball.
Again, I just go to what Doc Rivers did in Philly last night, like using Maxey, bringing Thibault in, like just the flexibility of that Sixer roster is why they won the game. And you have a guy in Joe that's out there balling, hitting threes, getting to the basket, getting to the line, and this is without James Harden. And you look at how Doc Rivers was able to manipulate that game offense to defense. And I mean, you start to understand why Philly's one of the best teams in the NBA.
But I also think Cody Strickland's also saying that we bash on Rudy. Again, you can take it that way, but I don't think it's bashing on Rudy. I mean, again, it's not like we're not saying other things about other players. Again, we're not making up a narrative about Rudy. The guy doesn't have an offensive game. He's one of the best defensive players in the league, if not the best defensive player in the league. That's why he's a 3-time defensive player of the year. So I just don't think it should be taken as, hey, you guys bash on Rudy all the time, because we don't. It is the conversation. If the guy had an offensive game, he'd be Nikola Jokic, he'd be Joel Embiid, he would be Karl Anthony Towns, but he doesn't. So how is that us bashing on the guy? We are literally just truth telling about Rudy Gobert. We're truth telling about Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's got everything you need on the floor except for decision making, in my opinion. I think he's got the shot. I think he's got the balls to take the big shot. I think he's a great passer when he does pass, which he needs to start doing more of. He's working on things in his game, but you can see the development and the path to greatness for Donovan Mitchell. With Rudy, I don't see the development at all. I don't see the little things. I don't see the effort to improve.
Yeah, but I think we've talked. The development piece is what we talk about consistently.
But I want Jazz fans to understand we don't just jump on the show and start hating on Rudy. That's not what it is. And just because, and this is the other thing I think that's so important. If you disagree with our takes, that doesn't mean that we're hating on Rudy. And it doesn't mean that we're wrong and you're right, or you're right and we're wrong. It just doesn't. The point is that Rudy Gobert is the hurdle that is holding this team back from making other trades that would allow them to become an NBA Finals caliber team.
By no fault of his own.
Because
of the contract and the way the rest of the roster was built.
And I think it's important to say that. Who should we really be blaming? This is Dennis Lindsey's responsibility and fault at this point. Dennis Lindsey is the one who wanted to sign him to this $40 million deal.
Yep. Edgar Garcia says Cody's panties in a knot. Gobert needs to get too much drama with him. I think Cody, you make a good point. I mean, Don has, and I think I said this a few minutes ago or maybe yesterday, Don's got to wear some of the responsibility for this team. And I would agree that I mean, that's the guy you want to take the biggest shot when the game's on the line, when your season's on the line. Don needs to take that shot. Now, unfortunately, in the Clippers series last year, he was hurt. So I don't know that he was functional to the point where he could take that shot. And, I think one of the things that this Jazz team is so clearly doing is they're trying to limit guys' minutes to make sure that everybody's as healthy as you can be for the playoffs. Because they are still convinced that when Don, Mike, and Rudy are a hundo P in the playoffs, or as close to it as they can be, that they're a formidable team. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I certainly don't. I'm not all in on that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Dane says, did y'all see Rudy blame not being 100% for the Laker game after he said he was fine and spry? I just think that Rudy Gobert has an ownership issue.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert has a self-accountability issue, and until that goes away, I don't see him growing. Samon Lott says Gobert's a casual.
Well, here, let me find the casual drop here.
You're a casual.
You are a casual.
Yeah, there you go.
I agree with that. Edgar agrees with that. George Mitchell says, if Jazz trade Rudy, who is the best option to make a trade?
No, we went over that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of fit and stylistically. Samon says, Sam, Sam, your name is Sam.
Yeah.
Sam says Porzingis for Gobert. MGTV says, who's going to want to trade for Rudy with that crazy contract? And you're not getting the mad player for what he's getting paid. No, you're not. You're not. You're not getting the same player. You're not. The quality you're giving to get. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Brylark says Rudy would be great on the Bulls. I think he'd be a great fit there. Pablo Petrozzi says Haywood plus Phils for Gobert. I don't know what that means. Eric DeVera says Atlanta and Chicago. Atlanta would be a great fit for him.
Yeah.
Brylark says, I love how Cody and James Knight are turning into complete heels on this show. I love James Knight. That's my dude.
I don't think that they're turning into heels if they're like I guess bad guys or something. They're not turning into that. I just think it's important for us to say on the show that we don't hate Rudy. We don't. The problem is, and I think. And again, this is probably another show, different conversation or whatever, but I think, the Jazz fan base is so conditioned to only positive take on their team. They're so conditioned to, oh my God, everything's fine and Rudy's the best. And did you see this? Did you see that? And I think it kind of comes as a shock to the system when you have an independent show like ours who doesn't have a stake in the game, truth-telling about what this team is right now, which is they are a second-round playoff team right now. That's the wall they've gotten to. Do they have the opportunity, or will they have the opportunity this year to get to the conference finals? I sure hope so. I would love to see that because, frankly, when the team's doing better and, they're having success, that's good for us. I would love to sit on this show tomorrow and be like, holy cow, did you see Rudy rolled out a jumper?
That'd be great.
That would be amazing. But I haven't seen that. So what are we left with? That's what nobody wants to talk about. That's what nobody wants to say. So with all due respect to James Knight and Cody Strickland and anybody else in the comments, it's not that we're bothered by you disagreeing or saying that we hate on Rudy. But I just don't hate Rudy. I'm talking about what the guy gives me to talk about.
Yeah, it's not personal. I think that's the hard part for people to grab. Cody says, okay, fourth quarter, he wasn't there. Great. He got 28 points in the first half. But when the team needed him to take a shot, he was throwing bricks. If Mitchell steps up as a leader, then Rudy wouldn't need to be.
I do agree with the concept that Donovan Mitchell balls out in the first half, but a lot of times doesn't show up nearly as much in the second half. That is something that I have seen.
Yeah.
I will give you credit for that take. I don't necessarily disagree. I think, as a player, that's also part of the maturity portion, and I also think when it comes to performing late in the game, you got to understand the defense is going to key on Donovan. They're not just going to let Donovan Mitchell go off. Again, and everybody seems to do this on Twitter, but if you look at Devin Booker, notice that his clutch level or his ability to perform in the second half has gone way up over the last 2 or 3 seasons because the team and the guys around him have gotten better. So the defense can't just key on him. And that's also what I think hurts Donovan's ability to go off for 20 in the second half.
Yeah, and by the way, I'd point out that Mikal Bridges isn't an all-star, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
King Essential says, opinion on Quinn staying if there's an early playoff exit. I think no matter what, you're probably making that change in the summer. We talked about this at length on the show yesterday, and in short, I would just say I think the voice has gotten dull in the room. He's been there a long time.
I don't think he's doing a bad job, but I just think it's time for change.
I think you're going to bring in a largely different roster, and I think that requires a different voice.
Yeah.
I think.
God
Hi.
bless your soul, sir.
Excuse me. Thank you. I think that he's been here a long time.
Yeah.
I don't dislike Quinn Snyder. I think Quinn's a hell of a coach. I was thrilled when they hired him. I think he's done a very good job. Sometimes you just need change. Cody Strickland says, Quinn has lost the team, in my opinion. The lack of not playing young talent to get them developed hurts his staying. I agree. I think his biggest flaw has been the lack of player development. There's not a guy frankly, there's not a guy on this roster that you can say from his youth to now has grown exponentially. And I think the biggest indictment on that is probably Rudy's offense, or the fact that Donovan Mitchell, spends a lot of money on his body and on his skills over the summer. And he usually comes back with a deeper bag of tricks. I mean,
and you would expect that out of a guy like Donovan.
Yeah, and the truth is that anymore in the NBA, you don't have time to practice. The schedule, you play too many games in too short of a window, and you can't practice for an hour every day.
Yeah.
Your development time is in shoot-arounds. But you know what? I mean, yesterday the Brooklyn Nets put out a video of Ben Simmons shooting threes.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I want to see Ben Simmons shooting threes? Is that development? I don't know. We haven't seen Ben Simmons play this year. Maybe he's taken all this time and developed a three. It looks easy for him, frankly. But you don't develop during the season, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Josh Lovren says Don doesn't show consistent leadership qualities on the court. That's going to hold the Jazz back after Rudy is gone. I actually think he does show leadership on the court. Don's the guy that's going to go up and talk to you, and you see him, hey, go over here, and like you see him. And I think some of that's acting, frankly.
Yeah.
But I think that's what leadership looks like in the NBA. If you talk about, the best leadership guys in the NBA, whether that's Draymond, LeBron, certainly, those are the guys that are routinely looked at as leaders in this league. They act the same way. So, I think Donovan Mitchell's a hell of a player who's got a lot of maturing to do.
Yeah.
All around. So, Coach, I don't think you're wrong. Eric Devere says fans nowadays can't differentiate hating. I'm Filipina, and JC has lull streaks that hurt the Jazz and even be traded. That's not hating. That's just real. Jordan Clarkson is a national hero in the Philippines, and if traded, we would follow him.
Yeah. See, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I agree. He does. You're not wrong. He does have cold streaks that do hurt the team. They really need his contribution off the bench.
Cody Strickland says, can we talk about something real that Gordon Hayward's wife is smoking hot? Oh, Robin Hayward is amazing. Even now that she's had several children, and she's still amazing. If you don't follow Robin Hayward on Instagram, frankly, you're missing out. Anyway. Rafael Reyes says, who are your top 5 head coaches that you see in the Utah Jazz?
I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And again, I'm not trying to dodge the question. I just don't think that I can't really answer that question because I don't know what.
Who are the players that are going to be here?
Who are the players?
What style?
What's the philosophy? You got to name head coaches. You got to understand what your team is going to look like.
Yeah. That's
again,
tough.
the best example I can give is you look at a Mike D'Antoni from all those years ago. He's not going to go and coach in an organization that's defensive-minded. That's not his style. So to answer who you want your head coach to be, you got to know what the roster is going to be.
Nate Cutler says, what's up from Hill Air Force Base? I really enjoy your podcast. Keep up the good work, guys. Thanks, Nate. Good to see you. If you're in service, thank you for your service to our country. ADZH says, do you believe Nurkic and Josh Hart trade for Gobert would work? A lot of people have asked about that exact deal. I love Josh Hart. He's a role player.
Yeah.
I think Nurk is a guy that is again very limited.
Playoff experience though.
A lot of playoff experience. I don't know. If I'm the Utah Jazz, if I'm trading Rudy Gobert, I am only doing it to find a completely different skill set on my wing. I want my 2, 3, 4 to be incredibly athletic. I need, again, I'll go back to Philly last night. I need a Thibault.
Yeah.
I need somebody that, can defend three positions. I need somebody that can shoot the three and get to the basket. I need a better version of Kyle Kuzma. I need that guy.
The difference
Length,
maker.
size, shooting, speed. I need that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know who that guy is. I don't know that guy's available. Would have been nice to add a Tyrese Halliburton to this team.
Yeah.
Would have been, if you look around, if you look at the guys that got traded, I mean, again, the lower end guys, the Karis LeVerts, the Spencer Dinwiddie's would love to have that kind of skill set on your team. But when you trade a guy like Rudy Gobert, who is, arguably the best defensive player in the NBA, I'm going to need a little more than Nurk and Josh Hart. I need more than role players. Now, having said that, there is value in just getting that contract off your books, right? That you're going to lose on that trade. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yep.
You're going to try and limit that loss as much as you can. But I don't know that a Nurkic Hart deal gets that done.
And I don't know that I
frankly.
like that. Yeah, I just don't think that's enough. I think I agree with you. I think you need more.
Jeremy Bolton says you need that guy, guys.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Hey, guys. Exactly right. All right. Can we talk about this stupid Saudi Golf League thing?
Hey, guys.
Speaking of which, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you're here right now, please hit thumbs up. Neville93 says, I had a question. Who would be a good fit for the Utah Jazz being a center if Rudy Gobert left?
Again, it depends on what kind of basketball you want to play. I mean, if I could get anybody, I'd love to see a Jaren Jackson Jr. I'd love to see a big. I don't view it as center and four for this team.
No.
I view it as the big. So to me, I think this team needs a big that can run and who has a jumper offensively. It doesn't have to be a three ball, but you got to be able to play pick and pop at the elbow. You got to be able to have him be able to once in a while shoot that three when it dictates.
The ideal center for this team is DeAndre Ayton. As limited as he is defensively, depending on who you put around him, DeAndre Ayton, it'd be nice to have a center, I think, to your point, who has a push shot.
Yeah.
Who can hit an elbow jumper, a free throw line, extended jumper. That'd be great. A guy that can finish the break, a guy that can dribble a little bit, a guy that, if you need to, can pass with his back to the basket. That's what I mean. Everybody in this league runs pick and roll, so that's not a unique skill. I think the guys that you would think would be available are not guys that you're excited about. Who's
a Clint Capella.
Frankly, I would love a James Wiseman, Robert Kuminga type player. I would love I think Wiseman's the prototypical skill set going forward. The guy that can shoot the three and, has length. There's just so many. It depends also on what are you surrounding with. I am never going to advocate, at least not right now, and probably not for the next 5 years. I'm never going to advocate building your team around a center.
Yeah.
I'm building my team around three really good wing players, whether that's guards or I think the way the Lakers go about it is completely wrong. LeBron should be playing the 5 or the 4, and AD should be playing the 5.
Yeah.
And when AD's out, start Dwight Howard and play him 15 minutes a night and let LeBron play small ball center because he's impossible to deal with as a small ball 5.
Yep.
Because then he can just rim run and
he can create high percentage looks, dude.
Yeah.
That's what the league is about.
And the thing that this Jazz team does not do, that teams like the Lakers, Suns, Warriors, like the frickin' Sixers last night.
Yes.
Running cuts into the paint with very sharp, crisp passing to get layups.
Yeah.
That's what this team misses.
Yeah.
You don't see it. What you see is, drive, kick, 3-point shot. High pick and roll, go to the basket. Hey, there's 5 seconds on the shot clock. Mike Conley's going to throw up some crazy-ass layup and miss it.
Yeah.
This team needs offense, which is another complaint of mine with Quinn Snyder. They don't run sets. They don't have...
They're a flow of the game offense.
Yeah, they're a run, pick, and roll, and let's see what happens. It drives me crazy. Spencer Morgan says at some point, player failure is coaching failure because of refusal to adjust rotations and minutes. My God, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
I agree. I don't.
Yes.
I think if you disagree
Absolutely.
with that, you just are not about like you're not someone who pays attention to the game. I mean, that's 100% on point.
Yes, we need more Forrest, Whiteside, Doak, Pascal. You know what? I hope I'm completely wrong about Doak. I want to see more now. I mean, I don't think he's ever anything more than a 15-minute player. I think I would much rather play Hassan Whiteside in a lot of key situations. I mean, certainly right now, today, Udoka Azubuike's not ready to be a big-time contributor.
Udoka Azubuike is just raw right now.
Yes.
And what I mean is he has the ability to be on the floor. He does. But the game is moving 1,000,000 miles an hour for him. The game is super fast. He's still adjusting and still getting used to it. And that's part of the process when you come into the league. I mean, you hear, know, quarterbacks talk about it all the time. Wow, what was the biggest adjustment coming into the league? What's enabled you to do so well? Well, I watched a ton of film and learned from this guy, and the game really slowed down for me. That's the process that Doak is going through right now. And my bigger thing with Hassan is not his skill or what he does on the floor, but it's his attitude and how he goes about the game. I'm kind of like, I love the guy, but I get burned out on the, the slouching and the bad attitude that he brings sometime. And I think that Doak, is just this raw, undeveloped talent that has a great attitude and just wants to get out there and give it 110%. And I love that about him.
And he's completely naive. So he just, I want a rim running center. That's it. Just run rim to rim, man. Give me a rebound, dish it out, run to the next rim. Get a rebound, get a finish, turn around, run down to the next. Like, that's what he's doing right now. And it's leading to a lot of opportunity. But if we're talking about development, it still pisses me off to no end that Jared Butler's not playing.
Yeah.
Like, every single night, put the guy in the lineup. Let him fail.
Yes.
I just tweeted this morning from a guy named Inky Johnson. We're so fascinated with the success and the upside.
Oh, my God. Look at Kevin Durant shooting the basketball.
But how do you get there? How do you become a refined player? You fail.
A lot.
The lessons are in the failure. That failure is what leads you to success. Play Jared Butler. It is so frustrating to see him get DNPs because there's just no reason for it.
Oh, sure. Of course, I understand why people are upset.
Jeremy Bolton says, yeah, I'd love a Steven Adams as well as a backup. I don't disagree with that. Eric Tavera says Hassan's skill is on top level, but his attitude sucks.
Yeah.
Azubuike lacks fundamentals, but his attitude is great. True. Spencer says Forrest and Butler should be getting Joe Ingles minutes long before he got injured, and a lot of Clarkson's too. Yeah.
Well, Forrest is getting minutes though. See, so
Trent is now consistently getting minutes.
Yeah, Trent's getting minutes, and I like what he's doing. I mean, I think again, more development, more failures needed. You got to learn more. Like, he just needs to play ball. But I think my firm opinion is Jared Butler's ceiling is way higher than Trent Forrest is.
All right, we're live in Southern California, Orange County this morning. We'll be here today, and then next week we'll be back in Salt Lake for the end of the month and into perpetuity. Enjoying a little what hasn't been warm Southern California sun, frankly.
Next week we'll be here.
Next week we'll be here. Yeah, we'll be here next week. Yeah, that's what I said.
No,
we'll be here next week, and then we'll go back to Salt Lake to end the month. Try to listen to the show occasionally. All right. Let me ask you something. Should the PGA pros join this Saudi Arabian Golf League thing?
You're casual.
It hasn't been well defined at this point. But there is no doubt that the Saudi government is trying to build a competitor for the PGA, and they have guys under contract now.
Right.
And one of those guys, horrifically, is Phil Mickelson.
How?
And the thing that is amazing to me is that Phil Mickelson is well aware that the Saudis are shitbags.
Yeah.
That the government, like his statement, I'm just going to read you, and this is a horrifying, disgusting, terrible, awful thing for Phil Mickelson to have said. According to Golf Digest, Phil Mickelson said, quote, the Saudis, they're scary MFers to get involved with. We know they killed Washington Post reporter Jamal Khashoggi and have a horrible record on human rights. They execute people over there for being gay. And he continued, Phil Mickelson did. Knowing all of this, why would I ever consider it?
Okay.
Because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reshape how the PGA Tour operates. It's
Bro,
a
Phil.
shocking, terrible, awful destruction of one's character. And while I've never loved Phil Mickelson, I've never hated Phil Mickelson until right now. And Phil Mickelson is by far their biggest name. And he is by far their highest paid pro. Depending on who you believe, it's he or Bryson DeChambeau. But Phil Mickelson is dead to me. And it is shocking to me that his sponsors have not pulled the plug on him for this. And everybody asking, why would Phil Mickelson do this? I tend to agree with Golf Digest, and I tend to agree with Alan Shipnook from the Fire Pit Collective, who all are saying, hey, Phil Mickelson's broke. He sold his private jet, which shocked many of his friends. And a lot of people, including Alan Shipnook, believe that Phil Mickelson has gambling problems. And it's cost him his personal fortune. And he is going with the Saudis for a payday. And I think it's horribly disgusting.
Yeah.
I think it is terrible. I think it is horrendous. And I will, if this happens, I mean, there's a pretty good chance I'm not going to watch a whole lot of golf again. I will never support Phil Mickelson, ever.
Because it's garbage.
You're a sellout, you're a scumbag, and you're taking blood money. And you're knowingly taking blood money. And it has nothing to do with the PGA Tour. Sorry, man. I don't buy this.
Story.
I don't buy this at all.
Yeah.
When you are by name mentioning Jamal Khashoggi, who, for those of you who don't remember, Jamal Khashoggi was a Washington Post reporter, an American citizen,
Yeah.
who was assassinated by the Saudis because of his reporting. And we did nothing about it. And when you talk about the atrocities committed by the Saudis,
Yep.
their crimes against women, their crimes against the LGBTQ community, you can't take their money. You can't take their money. I don't care if you're somebody that supports the gay community, if you're somebody who does not. You can't take the Saudis' money. Whether you care about Jamal Khashoggi and his family and Americans in general, you cannot take their money.
But that to me is what makes this even worse.
Yes.
You're gonna take the Saudis' money, but you're gonna do it in a way where you're gonna use Jamal as the cover story when you have gambling issues and you have debts you need to pay.
Allegedly, yeah.
Why? Allegedly, right? Allegedly. We need to say that. Allegedly. But let's surmise it's true. Allegedly. Right? Why not just say, hey, yeah, I'm in debt. I need money. Oh, that's right. Because that people would look down on you for that. Because you're an idiot and you have a gambling problem. Yeah, that's right. So let's go ahead and disgrace someone who's dead and we did nothing about it.
It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning.
It's incredibly disrespectful to dude's family. It is incredibly. I agree with you. It is one of the biggest teardowns of one's character. That's a great way to verbalize it. Because
how have his sponsors not pulled the plug on him?
I don't know. How is what is he? What is he? Titleist Callaway?
He's a Callaway guy. Phil Mickelson is a Callaway guy.
So you've got Callaway. I know. At
KPMG,
one point,
Workday,
Amazon. Yeah, Workday. I think that. I don't know, man. It's just shocking. And my feeling is, again, and this is my opinion. This could be completely off base, but my opinion is Phil thinks very highly of Phil. Phil likes him some Phil.
Yes, he does.
And when you like you some you, when Phil likes him some Phil, you're going to say some dumbass things like this. And my biggest problem is just that it'd be one thing if you were just if that cover story he's running out there was true. That would be bad on its own. But the idea that you're using that and you're lying about that and Khashoggi's dead. Like, he's dead, and we did nothing about it as a country. Oh yeah, I'm gonna take my 3-wood out over here in Saudi Arabia.
It is shocking to me that Phil Mickelson is behind the formation of this league. He admits he and 2 other players paid attorneys to write the rider and the formation documents for this Saudi Super Golf League.
And then what happens?
I'm amazed.
What
by
happens? Let me pose this question. Let's say, since we're joking about people dying, let's say Phil dies over there. Am I supposed to feel sorry for Phil? Am I supposed to say, hey?
But no, you don't. No. And this is a common misconception. They're not playing in Saudi Arabia. They're playing here.
So they're playing on U.S. soil.
Yes, it is. This Saudi Super League is set up to be a like-for-like competitor to the PGA Tour. And Phil Mickelson claims
That's even
that
worse.
he is only setting up this tour and only involved in it to leverage the PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan.
Is there information about where they're going to play? Are they going to play at Pebble?
They haven't said, but
Augusta?
But again, you have to think, you throw enough money at, they're not going to play at Augusta, but you throw enough money at a TPC Scottsdale, you throw enough money at some of these courses that frankly through the pandemic have suffered.
Yeah, they need it.
They're going to take your money.
Isn't this what's wrong with society? Isn't this what's wrong with it?
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, if you got enough money, here you go. And look, I love money just as much as anybody else. I love Jordans. I love nice cars. I love all the computers we have on our desk right here. Like, I love money, but not to the point where I'm going to make it over someone's dead body. You know what I mean? Like, that just it's too far for me. And it's disgraceful, honestly.
I am just...
And now the idea, I didn't realize, that's my fault. I didn't realize that the concept was just to have Saudi backing and you're going to play it here on our soil.
Yes.
That makes it even worse. That's just like the cherry on top, small detail that's like a full slap in the face.
It's amazing. I don't even know how you get out of bed. And Garcia says, in the chat is 100% silent. Maybe change the subject, LOL. Austin Lewis says, forgetting about who is behind the Saudi League, my first thought agreed with Phil that the PGA needs competition to make it better, but you can't just forget how terrible the Saudis are.
Yeah,
right?
And I don't really.
It's remarkable.
To the comment about, hey, the chat said, okay, great, we're cool, whatever. I don't really.
Yeah.
It's not
Mrs.
really,
Monty fanboy says, I've always disliked Phil. Not sure why anyone would get involved in this league.
Yeah.
Money,
money,
and they're
yeah.
upset. Chet asked, even though his comment disappeared thanks to the YouTube filter, Chet asked what they're upset with the PGA Tour. It's money. They want the thing that the players don't have right now is like NFTs. Fucking NFTs again.
Here we go.
The players are upset that they cannot take their biggest moments of their career and turn them into NFTs that they can sell. Because the PGA Tour owns their likeness and digital rights. Mm-hmm. And
which I have to say, hey, you signed the piece of paper. Does it suck? Yeah, it does.
It's in your tour card.
But it's in your card. So what is there to say? What are we going to roll out? NIL for the PGA Tour? Is that what we're doing? Like,
yeah.
Like what? I mean, so anyway, I just think that, we don't talk golf on this show almost ever. This is the first time we've talked golf in
since
ages.
Tiger and Phil.
Yeah, since Tiger and Phil, I think. Yeah, totally. And the only reason we wanted to talk about this is just because it's so disgraceful, just because it's something you need to know about and you should follow. Like, I think it's, I just think it's gnarly, dude. Like, this is Phil Mickelson, bro. This is the absolute, top dog competitor
Money.
to what was Tiger Woods.
Money is
here we are.
incredible. Money is incredible. I am just
These guys can't ride off into the sunset. How many guys, how many athletes, think of it this way, and we don't have to go down the list, but just pop this in your head, something to chew on. How many athletes are at the tail end of their career, the tail end of their top earning years as an athlete, and they do something dumb like this, and it costs them reputation, it costs them, it's terrible.
And then Garcia says, like, the U.S. is super ethical and humane. I mean, no, we're not.
We're not, but
we're not
that's the point.
hanging. We're not hanging the gay community by yard arms in the street like they do in
fucking America
in Saudi Arabia and like they do in the Middle East.
I mean,
we're
it's
not.
a
Come
different
on.
country, dude. Like I hope people understand. Like the brutality in their country is like on another level.
Do you
bro.
guys understand? Like they. No, I'm not. No.
It's
Anyway,
fine.
the point
It's
is.
fine.
The point
Yeah,
is.
it's fine.
The point is. I'm amazed by it.
Yeah.
Real quick on Jaden Daniels before we talk about the awkward family dinner we had last night. Jaden Daniels, the now former Arizona State Sun Devil quarterback. I don't know if he's officially in, but is going to be in the transfer portal if he is not already. And Arizona State celebrated by destroying his locker and ripping him on social media. And you're like, okay, well, guys transfer every day.
Why is this happening? What's going on here?
See what happened.
What are they pissed about?
They hate Jaden Daniels. Oh, and now we know why. Not only is the program in the middle of a horrendous recruiting scandal that has gutted Arizona State's football program and any opportunity to win games, but Jaden Daniels has been talking about transferring for like 4 months. So Herm Edwards, the old ball coach at ASU, Herm sat down with Jaden Daniels and had a meeting about it, at which, by some reports, Jaden Daniels said he was going to stay at ASU and stick it out. So when Spencer Rattler, Oklahoma quarterback,
Spencer Rattler,
who lost his job to Caleb Williams, when Spencer Rattler called old ball coach when he put his name in the transfer portal and said, hey, I'd really like to play at ASU. And Herm said, no, sorry, man. I just met with Jaden Daniels. He's staying. We got a quarterback.
Yep.
Why don't you go pursue other opportunities? And Spencer Rattler did just that. Went to South Carolina. He's a cock now. Gamecock. In South Carolina.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah.
And then Jaden Daniels transferred.
I'll drop that motherfucker.
Oh, boy. Forks down. Arizona State ain't real happy with Jaden Daniels.
You're so fucked.
Oh, my God.
Dude, they're pissed. And if you haven't seen it, go on Twitter and just search like Jaden Daniels or Jaden Daniels locker video. There's a video going around of these guys tearing up his locker, and it is ugly. And
you never see this.
Yeah, it's so rare. And again, see, this is why, and it kind of, again, love it or hate it, there were already questions about whether Daniels was going to get into the NFL because of his size or, frankly, lack thereof.
Frankly, because he doesn't lift? Is that what you're saying?
And now
maybe
you have some ethical issues here where you weren't honest about your intentions. You screwed your former program. And now, and this is like quitter quarterback, who was at Utah, formerly Baylor.
Don't say
it's
his
the same
name.
thing. I'm not going to say his name.
Say that
I'm not,
motherfucker.
dude. He's quitter quarterback. Everyone knows who he is. It's the same thing. You're a quitter. You don't say I'm going to stay. And then after the team turns down a top prospect, say, deuces, I'm outie. We'll see you later. And then what? You think you're going to go to another program and then be drafted high in the draft?
Yeah.
You're an idiot. I mean, that's not how it works.
Tanner Plummer says what those ASU players did was disgraceful. Well, on some level. But what
I'd be pissed
Jaden
too.
Daniels did was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
He lied. He didn't keep his word. And they had an opportunity to replace him. If he'd have just had the balls to say, yeah, I'm out, coach. Appreciate you and everything you've done. You guys were great. It's me, not you. We'll still be friends. Maybe you have some breakup sex, and then you go transfer.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
And then they could have brought Spencer Rattler in, right? The new hot 6-foot blonde that's way better looking than you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But instead, what you did is you said, no, you know what? I do love you. Let's stay together. And then you went and, went to Pound Town all over with their best friends and stuff.
I will downsize your face with a shovel.
I don't know why I turned this into a cheating affair thing, but it's fine.
I will chain you to a pipe.
They're not. I believe isn't that live audio from the ASU locker room when they were tearing up Jaden Daniels' locker?
How dumb do you think I am?
I love it. I think the Pac-12 is a freaking disaster, and I think Lincoln Riley's going to go to the Rose Bowl. Lincoln Riley's going to win the South.
Welcome to the fucking show.
I think that they very likely are going to have a Heisman Trophy candidate again. And I think that USC is going to show you how to turn a program around in a blink.
It's what it is, bro.
You know,
it is, bro.
If you are a Pac-12 fan and you are not terrified of what's going on at USC, you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Because Oregon's weaker, Washington's weaker, UCLA is still Chip Kelly weaker. The South.
Utah got a little weaker.
The South is absolutely USC's to win. I mean,
just saying. We got a lot of time to talk college football, though.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right. Ruff's official says, but we're in the Olympics when China is committing genocide. Truth.
Well.
Ruff's official also says, hating on Rudy all show. We were? How? Whiteside, O'Neal, Conley, Clarkson all struggled. Donovan's defense sucked. Down 1, 20 seconds left, and Donovan sits in the paint and watches Reeves wide open for a three. Well, But how did Donovan get there?
Again.
Donovan followed LeBron into the post to double team.
Here's what I'm going to say. Doesn't matter. That is true. I don't disagree. But it doesn't really matter why Donovan got there. It's just that he wasn't able to get back out.
Yeah, it sucks. That Reeves three was an absolute ball breaker.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Ruffs, I don't think nobody on this show has criticized Rudy for the entire show.
Yeah.
And I think Donovan, I straight up said Donovan Mitchell has to mature. Donovan Mitchell has to wear his shortcomings.
And again, I'm just going to keep saying, for James Knight and Ruff or whatever, you guys can take it as we hate on Rudy, but like I said 20 minutes ago, I would love for tomorrow him to start knocking down elbow jumpers or to add an offensive wrinkle to his game, because then we could talk about it.
Just be able to dribble.
Yeah,
man.
just any little thing. Again, it's better for our show when the team does well. I don't think people grasp that concept. We want them to do well, but we're not. We're independent, man. We're not beholden to anybody. I don't have to say nice things. I'm going to tell you the truth on the matter, whether you like it or don't like it. So if you want to take that as hate, that's fine, but that's not what it is.
Yeah, I just don't think that, you know what, man? Yeah, it is what it is. All right, can we talk about the awkward family meeting?
Yeah.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah, let's move.
Well, this was awkward.
Yeah. Where should we start?
Hawaii.
Okay. So you guys remember we took this trip to Hawaii several months ago.
With my mother-in-law. Yeah. Good trip. Where she said, hey, I'm dating a couple of people and, I have this one guy that I like and okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
A month later, she moved in with him and they announced they're getting married. Okay. That's fine. I mean,
so when you first heard that, what did you think about?
Well,
what did were you? I mean, were you well, that's fine, or what? What were you?
No, I was naturally concerned because they're in there. This dude is 80 years old. My mother-in-law is, by all accounts, a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
She has been single for 10 years after her husband died.
Okay. Yep.
This guy's wife passed away a year ago. And so he comes over for dinner last night while my mother-in-law is on a cruise.
Mm-hmm.
We invite him over for dinner so we can talk to him.
Right.
And we're sitting around the dinner table and just talking about stuff. And he said some things that, frankly, were caught me off guard a little bit and that I didn't like. And I'm very much a vibe and feel person. I try to read people. I try to learn about them by listening. And
if you guys ever want to kick it, we'll flow.
I don't dislike the guy. He just says some things that I don't like.
Okay.
You know, and so we talked through some things, and we didn't talk through some other things, and I don't know, like, what is the bar? And I guess the question that I have is, like, how much responsibility do we as her children and sort of children have to protect her, my mother-in-law?
Right.
Because I'm not saying that she's making a mistake. What I'm saying is I feel like she's going too fast.
Yeah. So, from my point of view, I think you guys do have a responsibility. Like, there's no question that with where she's at in her life, that introducing a new guy is not a problem by any stretch of the imagination. I actually think it'd be great for her, and it is great for her. But I also think there are things you have to take care of when you're late in life and retired, and you're in that portion of your life. And I think that not to say that that dude has any bad intentions or he's doing terrible things, because I
No.
don't think he is at all. But I think, as a son-in-law, as as the kids, like, you guys have a responsibility to ask questions, talk, like to dig, for lack of a better word. And my biggest thing, at that dinner last night was like, okay, this is pretty quick, like as you were just saying.
Yeah.
His wife had just passed away a year ago, which is a traumatic experience. Obviously,
He's openly talking about
Yeah.
how he, how he is still mourning, knowing Garcia. He goes, cock block much, Monty? No.
Not at all.
Not at
But
all.
this is the conversation, and I'm glad, all jokes aside, I'm glad that kind of was brought up. The point wasn't the point wasn't and isn't to cock block. The point is when you are in love, when you are the person in the relationship and doing the thing, you're not going to ask all these tough questions. I don't believe that there's been, and I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I really, truly do, but I'm not necessarily certain that there's been conversations about, hey, your wife had died a year ago, you're still grieving. Maybe we're going a bit fast here. Maybe you need more time.
Well,
Maybe we should take time.
until you asked that question.
So then I asked that question, right? And I thought his answer was thoughtful, which was just like, I'm not getting any younger, and like, I started dating.
But see, here's the problem. So I generally, in all of these situations, we're sitting around a table. I'm sitting at one end of the table, the love.
Yeah, you're at
guy.
the head of the table
I
as
don't know about
Jesus
all that.
Christ and everything.
But he's at the other end of the table. And I'm generally, in my family, I am generally the alpha.
Right.
I am the hammer, right?
Right.
And so I was asking this guy about timeline, and the grieving thing is a real concern to me. And my mother-in-law's on a cruise.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be back this weekend, I think, and we're gonna sit down and talk about it, because to me it's I don't care about the money. It's not like somebody asked, James Knight said, is he cutting into Mrs. Monty's inheritance? No, not at all.
It has nothing to do with that.
It just isn't. But the issue is that this is essentially my mom. This lady's been my mom for over 20 years.
Right.
And there's just some things that stand out without getting too specific. And the thing that concerns me is that this guy said, last night, like, hey, I'm still grieving. And it's just odd to me. Like, it just doesn't feel right to me.
So-
and there's this odd thing in life, this life cycle, and we've talked about this. You're born, you're a kid, you're a teenager, you're an adult. And then you go through the regression where you're back to being a teenager and a kid.
Right.
And these two are acting like teenagers, which is fine. They don't need my fucking permission. They don't need anybody's permission.
Right.
This is fucking America.
But a month ago, you told me you didn't know. And then we come home from Hawaii, and the next thing I hear is, hey, I moved in with this guy and we're getting married.
Right. Which is, you did say that last night.
I told him that.
You said that to his face last night. And I think it's a fair point. And I just think that it has nothing to do with the money. And I get, like, I know, there's some jokes being made or whatever, and that's fine. But, like, it's not about the money. What really it is about, because it's one thing, not that this is happening, but we always hear the story, hey, some person got fleeced and was in a scam or what, we all hear those,
Yes.
Those kind of fringe out there kind of stories. So it's one thing to lose all your money. But to lose all your money and be heartbroken is just
Not good.
And especially for someone of her age, we're not going to have that. And so, while it's not about the money does play a role in this whole situation from a conversation standpoint, but I think the heart of it and how it will affect one's happiness in life is really the balls of the conversation. And so
Yes.
last night, we're sitting around, having conversation, and he's like, all right, well, like an alarm went off on his phone because he had a call or whatever. He had to, get home and handle some stuff. And so I just point blank asked the guy. I was like, look, man, I haven't said 2 words this whole dinner intentionally. I've just been listening, seeing what you have to say about stuff. And I just straight up asked him. I was like, so you're, with all due respect, and I don't mean this in any type of way, but your wife, as you said, did die just over a year ago. And you also said that, instead of her being on the cruise, you would have loved for her to be here to be grieving with you because, the anniversary just passed and, he's working through it. And so what I asked him was, don't you think that there is some risk in jumping into something new, while you're still grieving? And that's my biggest concern.
Yep.
That's my biggest concern because I both think that the origin of the relationship, this dude said last night that when he started, because they met online, right, on an app or whatever. So the origin was, hey, to deal with my grieving, I want to get out there. I want to talk to some people, which is totally natural. I don't even have an issue with that. I think that's a great step. I think that's really smart. But that's different than saying, hey, I'm going to date with the intent to find somebody. That's 2 different things, with all due respect. So you've got that side of it, but then you have the Grammy side of it, where she did it because she just wanted to basically kind of the same, like wanted to make more friends, wanted to get out there a little bit, wanted to see what was out there.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel desired.
And there's
nothing.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that. But the point I'm getting to is, in today's world, especially at their age in the retirement phase of your life, my opinion is you can't do anything when it affects your money just because you want to do it. It has to be handled the proper way. There's a process by which you do things. That's my concern here. I don't love how it started. Yeah. I do think they do have a connection. I do think it's genuine. I think that's great. But you just got to be careful with this stuff, man. I don't want to have to sit around a dinner table 3 years from now and watch somebody cry because something happened. I'm not interested in that, and I don't think anybody is.
And Garci says, how long was he married? Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Jared Jensen says, Craven Moorhead is still hunting down the PS5. If it was decades, he'll most likely be grieving for the rest of his days. That's what I'm saying. James Knight says, you're 100% correct to be concerned over conversation. A conversation is definitely needed. In the words of the Joker, it's not about the money.
It's not. It's about sending a message. Yes.
Tanner Plummer says.
Great poll, Tanner. My guy.
Brylark says, get Grandma Monty-in-law to sign that prenup, Monty. They say they're talking to attorneys, and I want to see the
Which is terrifying on some level.
This is fascinating America. This is effing America.
Yes,
and
dude.
Garci says it is.
Yes, dude, this is.
And you...
This is fucking America.
It is, Dana. I agree with that. And you have the right to be happy, but man, I'm telling you.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope when you're at that age. He freely admits that he's like, I don't have a long time to live. I'm old. And that's the other thing. The other thing that stands out to me so much is my mother-in-law is like...
She's still kicking, bro.
60-something?
Yep.
Late 60s?
Yep.
Mid-60s? And she's spry and active, and... This guy is like not. He feels older. He's 80 and he feels 85, and he.
Which again, it isn't a criticism.
But bro, he's listen to me. Listen to me. He showed up wearing dress socks and sandals.
U.S. Americans.
We're not in Florida, bro. Like
Florida, man.
He showed up like those Velcro sandals and dress
want you to
socks.
listen to me.
I mean, how many bodies are in the yard, sir? Like, did you bury cats 3 feet above the dead bodies, 5 feet below? And then turns out to be a Trump Republican who is a gun advocate and compared gun use to drunk drivers. I mean, you get your Phil Mickelson on, sir. Like, I'm fine with that.
This is fucking America.
Too soon?
Too soon? Too soon.
Damn.
Anyway,
Damn,
I was watching
bro.
The Dark Knight yesterday, and I was thinking to myself, Jake would be a great Joker. Tanner said,
dude,
do you know how many Dark Knight lines we use every single day in conversation?
Dude.
I mean, schemers trying to control their little world.
Hey,
That's what these two are. My mother-in-law and her
they
boyfriend.
are.
Schemers.
Schemers trying to
Control
control
their little world.
Yeah.
My
Because it's
mother.
all part of the plan.
My mother-in-law, she's a schemer. Her boyfriend, he's got plans.
What would I do without you?
Right?
Right? I mean, I don't know. Did you want him to show up rocking Jordans,
Yes.
Monty? That'd
Yes.
be great.
Can I get some
One lows?
Yeah. Can I get some fire red 3s? Can I get some one lows? Can I get some cool gray 11s? Like, come on, man.
That's why everyone needs more head.
Yeah.
Exactly right, Jaron. Dane says
Sort of a natural reflex.
Yeah, my grandma's remarried after a while of being single for companionship. His family outcasts her, and she's just a caretaker. I feel terrible for her.
Where's the Italian?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
So that's been going on.
All right, fuck off. Let's talk about my birthday.
All right.
Okay.
Fuck off. That's not very nice.
Are we clear on that?
That's not very nice.
What are we doing for my birthday?
We're going to Lowry's.
We're going to
You got a
Lowry's
car
the Prime
detail.
Rib in Beverly
Which,
Hills.
by the way, I have to say, if you're in Southern California, Beachside Detail, amazing work. Like, just look them up on Instagram. Quick hit, amazing work. They don't pay
Ruff's
us.
official says 80-year-old's getting it on. Gross.
Just take it nice and easy, okay? Just relax.
Take
Yeah,
your heart
just-
medication,
just-
sir.
Just chill out, bro.
Have your glycerin pills on the bedside
Yeah, come on,
table.
just chill out, dude.
America.
Okay, for your birthday.
So my birthday, we're going to Lowry's the Prime Rib in Beverly Hills.
The Prime Rib.
Yeah, MFers. What time's yo girl get in?
Noon.
Man?
Noon.
She gets in at noon. So when you go to pick her up, me and Mrs. Monty are going to go up to House of Hoops at the Beverly Center.
You're gonna go to House of Hoops without me.
Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Who do you think you are?
You're a casual.
I am a schemer.
Who the hell do you think you are going to House of Hoops without me, dude? It's offensive.
Listen, bro, it's my birthday year. I can do whatever I want.
Too fucking bad, man.
Yeah, deal
It's
with
offensive, bro.
it. I'll wait for you.
You better.
I'll wait for you.
Yeah,
Jakey.
you better.
Sorry if you're offended by that.
Jakey, I'll wait for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
My heart will go on.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, it's my birthday,
Right.
and we're gonna eat a great dinner. I'm gonna buy myself all kinds of gifts and stuff.
Yeah, stuff. You know. Yeah.
I'm just saying. Jaron Jensen says scratch and sniff. I don't want to know what you're referring to scratching, sniffing about. Gonna guess the scent would be onions.
And
Anyway.
just kind of scruff it and play with it when it's wet.
The point is, I don't know. What should I at 49? What should I want for my birthday? Because what I want is
A Porsche.
no, I want like hoes and money, man.
To what do I owe this place?
Yeah, no, what I want is I'm a big clothes guy, I'm a big shoe guy. There's a huge sneakers auction tomorrow that I'm all about. But yeah, I want to go up to House of Hoops and I want to rock some shoes. Right? And I want to eat well and I just want to have like fun.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, dude, this week's been a grind, though. This week's been a grind.
And Garcia says head. That too.
I mean, I think we all want that.
How did we get here?
I think we all want that.
Yeah. Something for ED, Jensen said. Well, my last problem
Okay,
right
listen,
now.
listen.
I
There's
got that
enough.
blood flow.
There is enough ED commercials on the radio already. We don't need more in the comments. Okay.
Yeah. Why I don't listen to Utah Sports Radio? Well, it's
Ashwagandha.
yeah. Let's put some needles in your balls and make the flag run up the pole.
That's not what we're about.
Not on this show, we don't. You know what I'm saying, man? That's what I'm saying.
I'm good.
Anyway, so it's going to be a great weekend. I am super stoked for my birthday. I'm super stoked that next week, a week from today, we're going to Morton's, which is a great steakhouse. I cannot wait.
Yeah, dude. It's going to be awesome.
I'm just
It's
saying,
legit
who's
gonna-
on? No, James, you can't. No, man. You can't be making sexual references about the wife, man. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, that's
Rockin' Baja in Newport Beach. Love Newport Beach.
Yeah, Newport's fire.
Yeah, so we're gonna eat well this weekend.
We're not going to Mastro's, though.
We're not, and I'm a little disappointed about that.
I mean, I'm really surprised you chose Morton's over Mastro's.
Oh, wait until you go to Morton's. Morton's is
Yeah.
If you've never been to Morton's, and I'm telling you,
We'll see.
I'm telling you right now,
We'll see. We'll see.
it's some stuff, man.
Yeah, we'll see, bro.
It's some stuff. Anyway, play the music because we got to go to the Yelpatory. Really appreciate you guys. Another huge week on the audio podcast. Thank you. If you're here right now, please give us a thumbs up and a like. Hit the thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. You want to buy a You're a Casual shirt? All you got to do is DM Jake or me on social, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show. You know what I'm saying? $25, DM us. The shirt is yours. Make sure you subscribe. We're giving away a PS5.
Yeah, and to all you haters on the audio, suck it. Today it worked.
Yeah, we fixed the audio.
Yeah, suck
no
it.
audio problems
we win.
today.
We win. We win. See what
We
I mean?
did it.
We fixed it.
We did it. Until tomorrow. Say happy birthday, Monty.
Yeah, happy birthday, shithead.
Wow.